Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Meridian, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The research ship had been traveling through space for 3 months now, exploring new worlds and looking for signs of alien life. Jake had been a captain for 12 years, but this mission was different. They were not here to fight or conquer. They were here to learn and make friends. Dr. Lisa Hayes walked up to Jake, holding a data pad in her hands. She was the ship's chief scientist, a woman who had spent her whole life studying aliens and their cultures. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her eyes showed the excitement of someone who loved discovery. "Captain, we are getting close to the Kepler 442 system," Lisa said. "Our sensors are showing at least 3 planets that might support life. This could be exactly what we have been looking for." Jake nodded and turned to Ryan Clark, the communications officer. Ryan was young, maybe 25 years old, with red hair and quick fingers that danced across his control panel. He had joined the crew straight from the academy, eager to be part of humanity's first real exploration mission into deep space. "Ryan, start scanning all frequencies," Jake ordered. "If there is intelligent life in this system, maybe we can pick up their radio signals or something similar." "Yes, sir," Ryan replied, his hands moving over the controls. "Beginning wide-spectrum scan now." The ship moved closer to the system, its engines humming quietly. Maria Santos, the security chief, watched from her station. She was a tough woman with short black hair and scars on her arms from old battles. Maria did not trust easily, but she believed in the mission. Even so, she kept her weapons ready, just in case. The USS Meridian was not built for war. It had basic shields and a few small guns, but nothing like the big warships back home. The ship was designed for science and diplomacy. Jake hoped they would never need more than that. 3 hours passed as they entered the outer edge of the system. The sensors showed rich planets with water and atmosphere. Ryan worked at his station, listening to the background noise of space. Then his face changed. "Captain, I'm picking up something," Ryan said, his voice getting excited. "It's not natural. These are definitely artificial signals." "Put it on speakers," Jake ordered. The bridge filled with static, then strange sounds that might have been voices. The universal translator tried to make sense of it, but the words came out broken and unclear. "Help. Anyone. Please help us. They are killing, burning our cities. Please." Lisa stepped forward, her face pale. "That sounds like a distress call." Ryan worked frantically at his controls, trying to clean up the signal. "I'm getting clearer reception now, Captain. The signal is coming from the 3rd planet." The voice came through again, clearer this time but still desperate. "This is Elder Cathara of the Zephyrian Council. Our world is under attack. Unknown ships came from space. They are destroying everything. We have no weapons. We have never needed weapons. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." Jake felt his stomach tighten. He looked around the bridge at his crew. They all had the same expression, shock and anger at what they were hearing. "Ryan, can you get a visual?" Jake asked. "Working on it, sir. I'm tapping into what might be their communication satellites." The main screen flickered, then showed a terrible sight. A beautiful blue and green planet filled the view, but it was under attack. Massive alien ships hung in orbit, firing down at the surface. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers across continents. Cities that had probably stood for thousands of years were burning. "My God," Lisa whispered. Maria stepped forward, her hand moving to her weapon. "Captain, we need to do something." Jake stared at the screen. The attacking ships were huge, bigger than anything in the human fleet. He counted at least 50 vessels, including massive ships that looked like floating cities. His little research ship would be like a mosquito against them. The distress signal continued. "They call themselves the Hegemony Collective. They came without warning. They said we were weak and would serve them as slaves. When we refused, they began the bombardment. Half our cities are gone. They are landing soldiers now, taking our people. Please, anyone, help us." Ryan looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting the attacking fleet. 53 ships total, including 12 that are each 10 times bigger than us. Their weapons are off the scale." Jake closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his orders. The USS Meridian was supposed to explore and make peaceful contact. They were not supposed to fight wars. But how could they turn away from genocide? Lisa moved to his side. Jake, we have to help them. Look at those readings. The Zephyrians have no military technology at all. They are completely helpless. Well, with what? Maria asked. But her voice showed she agreed with Lisa. We have one research ship against their entire fleet. It would be suicide. Jake looked at the screen again. The planet was beautiful, with vast forests and clean oceans. The cities, what remained of them, showed advanced architecture but no weapons or military installations. These people had built a peaceful civilization, and now they were being murdered for it. Ryan, open a channel to the planet, Jake ordered. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Meridian. We have received your distress call. We are here. The reply came quickly, filled with desperate hope. Human ship, thank you for responding. I am Elder Cathara. Can you help us? Can you stop them? Jake looked around his bridge one more time. His crew stared back at him, waiting for his decision. He thought about the oath he had taken when he became a captain. Protect the innocent. Defend those who could not defend themselves. Ryan, send out an emergency broadcast on all human military frequencies, maximum power. Sir? Do it now. Ryan's fingers flew over his controls. Channel open, sir. Broadcasting to all human vessels. Jake took a deep breath. This is the USS Meridian calling all human ships. We have encountered an ongoing genocide in the Kepler 442 system. The Zephyrian people are under attack by a force calling itself the Hegemony Collective. We are outnumbered 50-1 and outgunned by an impossible margin. Any human vessels in range, please respond immediately. We cannot stand by and watch an entire innocent species be destroyed. Morrison out. He turned to Maria. Prepare all weapons and shields. We are going in. Maria smiled grimly. About time, Captain. The USS Meridian changed course, heading straight toward the enemy fleet. Jake knew they probably would not survive, but they had to try. Somewhere behind them in space, his message was traveling at light speed toward human colonies and military bases. He could only hope someone would hear it and come to help. The war for Kepler 442 had begun. Admiral Kate Phillips sat in her command chair aboard the USS Valkyrie, reading reports from the outer colonies. At 45 years old, she commanded the largest carrier in the Terran Defense Fleet. Her ship carried over 200 fighters and had enough firepower to level a small moon. Kate had gray hair now, earned through 20 years of keeping Earth's colonies safe from pirates and hostile aliens. The bridge was quiet until Lieutenant Commander Tony Green, her communications officer, suddenly straightened at his station. Tony was a veteran who had served under Kate for 8 years. She had never seen him look so shocked. Admiral, we're receiving an emergency broadcast from the USS Meridian, Tony said, his voice tight. It's a general distress call to all human forces, Kate frowned. The Meridian was a research ship, not a military vessel. Put it on speakers. Captain Morrison's voice filled the bridge, clear and desperate. Kate listened to every word, her hands gripping her chair arms tighter with each sentence. When the YOW message ended, the bridge was completely silent. How far are we from Kepler 442? Kate asked. Her navigation officer, Commander Steve Walsh, checked his instruments. Steve had been navigating ships for 15 years and knew every star chart by heart. 18 hours at maximum speed, Admiral. Kate stood up. All hands battle. Stations. Set course for Kepler 442, emergency speed. Send messages to every human ship within 5 parsecs. Tell them to converge on our position immediately. Across human space, other commanders were receiving the same message. Colonel Ben Torres commanded the Mars Defense Station, a massive orbital platform that protected humanity's first colony world. Ben had fought in 3 wars and had never backed down from a fight. When he heard Morrison's call, he immediately began loading transport ships with his best Marines. Get me every available ship, Ben ordered his staff. I don't care if they are cargo haulers or passenger liners. If they can carry troops and have engines, I want them loaded and ready to go in 2 hours. Captain Alex Reed was patrolling the Outer Rim aboard his destroyer USS Thunder when the message reached him. Alex was 32 years old and had been in space combat since he was 20. His ship was fast and deadly, built for hunting pirates and raiders, but Alex had never faced anything like what Morrison was describing. "Helm, change course for Kepler 442, Alex ordered. "Push the engines to 110%. I don't care if we burn them out." His first officer, Lieutenant Commander Sam Mitchell, looked worried. Sam was Alex's oldest friend and had saved his life more times than either could count.
"Alex, we're just one destroyer. Morrison said they are facing over 50 enemy ships." Alex stared at the star charts on his screen. "Then we better hope more ships are coming. But I'll be damned if I let an entire species get wiped out while—"
"We sit here doing nothing." The message spread through human space like wildfire. At the Titan shipyards, workers began preparing every available warship for immediate departure. The battleship USS Liberty, commanded by Captain Nick Carter, was finishing repairs when the call came in. Nick did not wait for orders. He took his ship out with half the repairs still incomplete. General Patricia Wells received the message at the Colonial Marine headquarters on Luna. Patricia commanded over 50,000 of the toughest soldiers humanity had ever produced. These were men and women who had trained in Earth's harshest environments, from Arctic wastelands to burning deserts. When Patricia heard about the genocide at Kepler 442, she knew her Marines would want to fight. "Load every transport we have," Patricia ordered. "Full combat gear and heavy weapons. If we're going up against 50 alien warships, we're going to need everything we have." Back in the Kepler system, the USS Meridian was moving toward the enemy fleet. Captain Morrison watched the alien ships on his screen, counting weapons and trying to estimate their strength. The enemy vessels were unlike anything in human databases. They looked like dark metal cities floating in space, covered with weapon ports and launching bays. Dr. Lisa Hayes worked frantically at her science station, scanning the enemy fleet and the planet below. What she found made her angry. "Jake, these aliens are not just conquering the Zephyrians, they are enslaving them. I'm detecting massive prison camps being built on the surface." Ryan Clark managed to establish a secure communication link with survivors on the planet. The stories that came through were horrible. The Hegemony Collective was not just taking the planet. They were taking the people, sorting them like cattle, keeping the strong ones for slave labor and killing the rest. Maria Santos studied the tactical data, looking for any weakness in the enemy formation. The Hegemony ships were powerful, but they were arranged carelessly, as if they did not expect any real resistance. Maria had fought pirates and raiders who were more careful than this enemy fleet. "They're overconfident," Maria told Morrison. "Look at their formation. They have no screening ships, no defensive perimeter. They think they are completely safe." On the planet's surface, Elder Kithara huddled with the last members of his government in a bunker deep underground. The Zephyrians were a tall, graceful people with blue-green skin and large, intelligent eyes. They had built a civilization based on art, science, and peaceful cooperation. They had never even imagined that creatures like the Hegemony existed. "Elder," one of his advisors said, "the human ship is approaching the enemy fleet. They are going to try to help us." Kithara felt hope and despair at the same time. The humans had answered their call, but one small ship could not possibly defeat the massive Hegemony fleet. Still, someone had come. Someone cared enough to try. High above the planet, Warlord Vex commanded the Hegemony fleet from his massive dreadnought. Vex was a brutal creature, part of a species that had conquered dozens of worlds for the collective. He stood 8 feet tall, with thick armor-like skin and claws that could tear through metal. Vex had never met an enemy he could not crush. "Commander, Zex," Vex called to his ground force leader. "How goes the harvest?" Commander Zex was leading the troops on the planet's surface, sorting through captured Zephyrians, like a farmer sorting livestock. "Very well, Warlord. The weak ones are being eliminated. The strong ones are being prepared for transport to the labor camps. This species will serve the collective well." Vex nodded with satisfaction. The Zephyrians were exactly what the collective needed, intelligent enough to be useful, but too peaceful to resist effectively. It was almost too easy. Then his sensor officer reported something unexpected. Warlord, we are detecting an approaching ship. It appears to be from a species called humans. Vex had never heard of humans, but that was not unusual. The galaxy was full of minor species that thought they were important. How many ships? Just one, Warlord. It is small, probably a research vessel. Vex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. One ship? They must be coming to surrender on behalf of their species, or perhaps to beg for scraps from our conquest. But as the USS Meridian came closer, Vex's intelligence officer brought him a data file on humans and their homeworld. What he read made him pause. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world, one of the most dangerous planets in known space. Most galactic species came from garden worlds with mild climates and few predators. Earth was a world of extreme weather, deadly predators, and constant natural disasters. Interesting, Vex muttered. This human ship might actually try to fight us. It will be amusing to watch them die. The hegemony fleet began to turn toward the approaching human vessel, weapons powering up. Vex was looking forward to destroying these Deathworlders and adding their planet to the collective's target list. But 18 hours away, Admiral Kate Phillips was leading the largest human battle fleet ever assembled. Behind her came destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and carriers. Marine transports followed, loaded with soldiers who had volunteered to fight for people they had never met. The galaxy was about to learn why Deathworlders were so dangerous. And the Hegemony Collective was about to discover that humans did not fight for conquest or profit. They fought for something much more dangerous. They fought because it was right. The first human reinforcements would arrive soon, and with them would come the fury of a species that had spent millions of years learning how to survive on the most hostile world in known space. Captain Alex Reed watched the enemy fleet grow larger on his screen as the USS Thunder approached Kepler 442. His destroyer had arrived first, along with two other ships, the USS Ranger commanded by Captain Bill Hayes and the USS Hunter under Captain Carol Swift. 3 destroyers against 53 alien warships were terrible odds, but Alex had never walked away from a fight when innocent people needed help. Lieutenant Commander Sam Mitchell studied the tactical display at his station. The Hegemony fleet was arranged in a loose formation around the planet, with their largest ships hanging in high orbit, while smaller vessels moved between the planet and its moons. Sam had been in space combat for 10 years, but he had never seen ships this big. Alex, their main ships are each 5 times larger than us, Sam reported. And I count at least 12 of those monsters. The smaller ones are still twice our size. Alex nodded grimly. Any word from the Meridian? Captain Morrison is holding position just outside the asteroid belt, Communications Officer Jenny Park replied. Jenny was young but had proven herself reliable under pressure. He's trying to coordinate with Zephyrian survivors on the planet surface. Through their communications link, the 3 human captains could hear Ryan Clark from the Meridian talking to aliens on the planet. The reports were getting worse by the hour. The hegemony forces were burning entire cities and loading survivors onto transport ships like cargo. We can't wait for the main fleet, Alex said over the comm channel to his fellow captains. Every minute we delay, more of those people die. Captain Carol Swift agreed immediately. Carol commanded the USS Hunter and had a reputation for aggressive tactics. My ship is ready, Alex. Let's show these aliens what humans are made of. Captain Bill Hayes was more cautious. Bill was older than the other 2, with gray hair and 20 years of command experience. 3 ships against that fleet is suicide. We should wait for Admiral Phillips. Admiral Phillips is still 12 hours out, Alex replied. How many Zephyrians will be dead or enslaved by then? Bill looked at his tactical display again, then at the planet where cities were still burning. He made his decision. All right, Alex, you have command. What's the plan? Alex studied the enemy formation, looking for weaknesses. The hegemony ships were powerful, but they were spread out across a wide area. Their formation showed they expected no real resistance. We go in fast and hard, Alex said. Hit their troop, transports first, then the ships bombarding the planet. Our job is to save as many Zephyrians as possible and buy time for the fleet to get here. Sam Mitchell shook his head. Alex, those transports are protected by at least 20 warships. We won't make it through their screen. Yes, we will, Alex replied. Because they don't understand how humans fight. They think like conquerors. We think like protectors. The 3 destroyers formed up in attack formation and accelerated toward the enemy fleet at maximum speed. On the USS Thunder, Alex stood in his command chair and addressed his crew over the ship's intercom. All hands, this is the captain, Alex announced. We are about to engage a hostile force that outnumbers us 17-1. They are committing genocide against an innocent species that has never hurt anyone. We are going to stop them. Today we fight not for territory or resources, but for the simple idea that peaceful people should be allowed to live in peace. All stations, battle ready. The crew responded with determination that came from training and conviction. These were humans who had volunteered to serve in space, knowing they might face exactly this kind of situation. They were ready. The hegemony fleet detected the approaching human ships and began to react. Warlord Vex, commanding from his massive dreadnought, was amused by the sight of 3 tiny ships approaching his entire fleet. They must be insane, Vex told his bridge crew. Or perhaps they do not understand mathematics. Deploy escort squadrons to destroy them quickly. I do not want them to interrupt our operations. 20 hegemony warships moved to intercept the human destroyers. These were deadly vessels, each one armed with weapons that could crack a moon. Their commanders expected an easy victory against the primitive human ships. What happened next shocked every alien who witnessed it. Instead of spreading out or trying to run, the 3 human ships accelerated directly into the middle of the enemy formation. The USS Thunder took the lead, her shields flashing as enemy weapons fire hit her. But instead of slowing down, Alex pushed his engines even harder. All weapons, target their formation center, Alex ordered. Sam, give me a firing solution on that cruiser. Target locked, Sam replied. Firing. The Thunder's main guns opened fire at point-blank range, hitting the hegemony cruiser with everything she had. The alien ship's shields collapsed and armor cracked, but it was still fighting. Again, Alex ordered. Don't stop firing. The 3 human ships carved through the enemy formation like bullets, firing constantly and taking hits that would have destroyed most galactic species vessels. But human ships were built differently. They were designed by a species that had learned to survive in environments that would kill anything else. Captain Carol Swift's USS Hunter rammed through the escort screen, taking massive damage but clearing a path for the other ships. I'm hurt but still fighting, Carol reported. Go for the transports. The hegemony commanders could not believe what they were seeing. These human ships fought with a ferocity that made no tactical sense. They took damage that should have forced them to retreat, but instead they pressed their attacks harder. Alex spotted his primary target, a massive transport ship loaded with captured Zephyrians. The ship was trying to escape to hyperspace, but it was moving slowly due to its heavy cargo. Sam, all weapons on that transport, Alex ordered. Alex, we'll have to go through 5 escort ships to reach it, Sam warned. Then that's what we do. The USS Thunder charged straight at the escort formation, her guns blazing. Captain Bill Hayes followed in the USS Ranger, adding his firepower to the attack. Together, they punched through the alien defenses with pure determination and superior gunnery. The transport ship tried to run, but human destroyers were built for speed as well as fighting. Alex caught up to the lumbering vessel and opened fire at close range. The transport's shields collapsed and its engines exploded. The ship was crippled but not destroyed, exactly what Alex wanted. This is Captain Reed of the USS Thunder II. The Zephyrian prisoners aboard the transport ship. Alex broadcast on all frequencies. Help is coming. Stay strong. Inside the damaged transport, thousands of Zephyrian captives heard the human voice and felt hope for the first time since the attack began. Elder Cathara himself was aboard that ship, and he pressed his face to a small window to see the human destroyers fighting impossible odds to save his people. But the battle was far from over. The main hegemony fleet was converging on the 3 human ships, and Warlord Vex was furious that such a small force had penetrated his defenses. Destroy them all, Vex roared. I want those ships turned to dust. The USS Hunter, already badly damaged from her ramming attack, took a direct hit from a hegemony battleship's main guns. Captain Carol Swift's ship broke apart, but not before She managed to ram her dying vessel into another enemy transport, saving even more Zephyrian lives. Carol's gone, Bill Hayes reported, his voice tight with anger and grief. Alex felt rage building in his chest, but he channeled it into cold determination. That was what humans did best. They turned pain into purpose, grief into strength. Then we make her sacrifice count, Alex replied. All ships, target the next transport. The USS Thunder and USS Ranger continued their desperate attack, moving from target to target with methodical precision. They were taking heavy damage and losing systems, but they kept fighting. Human engineering had built these ships to take punishment that would destroy any other species' vessels. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, Major Carol Brown led a desperate mission to evacuate Zephyrian civilians from areas under attack. Carol commanded a company of Marines who had been aboard the research vessel USS Meridian, and she had volunteered to take shuttles down to the planet while the destroyer battle raged overhead. Sergeant Danny Price, get your squad to that refugee center, Carol ordered. The hegemony ground forces are moving in fast. Danny Price was a tough Marine who had served in a dozen combat zones. He led his squad through burning streets while enemy aircraft strafed the area above them. The Zephyrians they found were terrified but grateful for human help. Elder Valen, we need to get your people to the shuttle, Danny told one of the Zephyrian leaders. The alien was tall and graceful, with blue-green skin and large, intelligent eyes that showed both fear and hope. Your people fight with great courage, Elder Valen said as they ran toward the evacuation point, but there are so few of you. More are coming, Danny promised. Humans don't abandon friends. Above the planet, Alex Reed's USS Thunder was finally starting to fail. The destroyer had taken hits from over 20 enemy ships and was leaking atmosphere from a dozen hull breaches. But Alex had managed to cripple or destroy 6 enemy transports, saving thousands of Zephyrian lives. Alex, we're getting reports from long-range sensors, Sam Mitchell called out. Admiral Phillips' fleet is 2 hours out, but I don't think we can last that long. Alex looked around his damaged bridge. Half his crew was wounded and most of his weapons were offline. But the enemy was still out there. Still, Admiral Kate Phillips stood on the bridge of the USS Valkyrie as her battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What she saw on the tactical display made her jaw tighten with anger. The remains of 3 human destroyers were scattered across space, still fighting against impossible odds. Status report on our advanced ships, Kate ordered. Commander Steve Walsh checked his instruments. The USS Hunter is gone, Admiral. Captain Swift went down fighting, but she took 2 enemy transports with her. The Thunder and Ranger are both heavily damaged but still operational. They've been fighting for 6 hours straight. Kate felt a surge of pride mixed with fury. Those 3 ships had held the line against an entire enemy fleet, buying time for her main force to arrive. Now it was time to show the Hegemony Collective what happened when humans went to war. All ships battle formation, Kate commanded. Launch all fighters. Prepare for full engagement. Behind the Valkyrie came the most powerful human fleet ever assembled. The battleship USS Liberty, commanded by Captain Nick Carter, led a squadron of heavy warships. Each one carried enough firepower to level a continent. Colonel Ben Torres had brought Marine assault ships loaded with soldiers who had volunteered to fight for people they had never met. General Patricia Wells coordinated the Marine forces from her command ship. Her troops were the toughest fighters humanity had ever produced, trained in Earth's harshest environments and equipped with weapons designed to kill efficiently. Captain Jake Morrison, still alive aboard the battered USS Meridian, felt relief wash over him as he saw the massive human fleet arrive. His research ship had been providing intelligence and coordinating rescue operations for the past 6 hours. Dr. Lisa Hayes had been working around the clock to help Zephyrian survivors, while Ryan Clark maintained communications with the scattered human forces. Admiral Phillips, this is Captain Morrison, Jake transmitted. Thank you for coming. The situation is worse than we reported. The enemy is not just conquering this world, they are enslaving the entire population. Kate's face grew, hard as stone. Understood, Morrison. What's the tactical situation? Captain Reed's destroyers have saved thousands of Zephyrian lives, but they can't hold out much longer. The enemy has 47 ships still operational, including 12 of their largest vessels. They call their leader Warlord Vex. Kate studied the tactical display. The hegemony fleet was powerful, but they were spread out and overconfident. They had not expected serious resistance and were not prepared for the kind of coordinated attack that human military doctrine demanded. All ships, listen carefully, Kate broadcast to her fleet. We are not here for conquest, we are not here for territory. We are here because an innocent species is being murdered, and that is something humans will never tolerate. Today we show the galaxy what happens when Deathworlders go to war for the right reasons. The human fleet accelerated toward the enemy, moving in perfect formation. Each captain knew exactly what to do because they had all trained for this kind of battle. Human military doctrine was built on centuries of warfare and refined through constant study and practice. Warlord Vex watched the approaching human fleet from his massive dreadnought and felt something he had not experienced in years: uncertainty. These humans fought differently than any species the hegemony had conquered. Their 3 small ships had held his entire fleet for 6 hours and had actually damaged his forces significantly. How many human vessels are approaching? Vex asked his sensor officer. 37 ships, Warlord, including several that are larger than our heavy cruisers. Vex studied the tactical data. The human fleet was smaller than his force, but their formation was perfect, and their approach showed tactical skill that impressed even him. These Deathworlders were not the primitive species his intelligence had suggested. Deploy all squadrons, Vex ordered. We will crush them with superior numbers. What followed was a masterclass in human military tactics that shocked every alien who witnessed it. Admiral Phillips did not attack the enemy fleet directly. Instead, she divided her forces and struck at multiple targets simultaneously. Captain Nick Carter's USS Liberty led the battleship squadron in a frontal assault on the enemy's heavy ships, drawing their attention and firepower. The massive human battleship took hits that would have destroyed most vessels, but her thick armor and redundant systems kept her fighting. All weapons, continuous fire, Nick ordered. Target their flagship. The Liberty's main guns spoke with a voice like thunder, sending massive shells into the enemy dreadnought's shields. The alien ship's defenses flickered and sparked under the bombardment. At the same time, Admiral Phillips launched her fighter squadrons in coordinated strikes against enemy positions. Human fighter pilots were trained to operate in Earth's violent atmosphere, dealing with storms and turbulence that would ground most alien aircraft. In the clean vacuum of space, they moved like deadly angels. Commander Lisa Park led Alpha Squadron in an attack on enemy supply ships, while Commander Danny Walsh took Beta Squadron against the vessels bombarding the planet's surface. The fighters moved too fast for the enemy's heavy weapons to track, darting in and out of the alien formation like angry wasps. But the real shock came when General Patricia Wells launched her marine assault. Instead of waiting for the space battle to end, she sent her troops directly to the planet's surface while the fighting raged overhead. All Marine units, this is General Wells, Patricia broadcast to her forces. Our mission is simple: find every Zephyrian civilian and get them to safety. If the enemy gets in your way, remove them. Marines do not leave innocents behind. Colonel Ben Torres led the first wave of assault shuttles through the battle zone, dodging enemy fire and burning debris. His Marines were loaded with heavy weapons and medical supplies ready for both combat and rescue operations. Sergeant Danny Price, are you still operational down there? Ben called to the Marine unit that had been fighting on the surface for hours. Danny's voice came back over the comm, tired but determined. Still here, Colonel. We've got about 2,000 Zephyrian civilians in secure locations, but the enemy keeps sending more ground troops. Help is coming, Sergeant. Hold your position. On the planet's surface, the hegemony ground forces found themselves facing an enemy unlike anything in their experience. Human Marines moved through hostile terrain as if they were born to it, using cover and concealment that would challenge most galactic species. Major Carol Brown led her company in a direct assault on a hegemony prison camp where thousands of Zephyrians were being held. The aliens had built their defenses assuming they would face only primitive resistance, but human tactics made their preparations useless. Jenkins, take your squad around the left flank, Carol ordered. Martinez, Hit them from the right. I want. Crossfire on their main position. The Marines moved with precision born from training in Earth's deadliest environments. They had practiced urban warfare in Earth's bombed-out cities, jungle fighting in Earth's rainforests, and desert combat in Earth's harshest wastelands. This alien battlefield was actually easier than some of their training grounds. The hegemony, forces accustomed to enemies that surrendered when faced with overwhelming odds, found themselves fighting soldiers who became more dangerous when outnumbered. Human Marines used tactics that no civilized species would consider. They fought from positions that should have been impossible to defend, and they pressed attacks that should have been suicidal. In space, the battle was turning in humanity's favor through superior tactics and unbreakable will. Admiral Phillips had divided the enemy fleet and was defeating them piece by piece. Captain Alex Reed's battered USS Thunder, reinforced by arriving human ships, finally managed to destroy the transport carrying Elder Cathera and thousands of other Zephyrian prisoners. "This is Captain Reed to all Zephyrian survivors," Alex broadcast, as rescue ships moved in. "You are safe now. We're taking you to secure areas where you can receive medical treatment." Elder Cathera, weak from his captivity but alive, looked through the window of the rescue ship at the human fleet. He had lived for over 200 years and had never seen anything like the fury and determination these Deathworlders showed when defending innocent life. Warlord Vex, watching his fleet being systematically destroyed by inferior numbers, finally understood what his intelligence reports had missed. These humans were not just another species with advanced technology. They were apex predators who had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day for millions of years. Their entire military doctrine was based on the assumption that every battle was a fight for survival. "All ships prepare for tactical withdrawal," Vex ordered. He had conquered over 50 worlds for the hegemony, but he had never faced an enemy like this. But Admiral Phillips had other plans. "All ships, this is Admiral Phillips. No enemy vessel leaves this system. Every ship that participated in this genocide will be destroyed. We do not let war criminals escape to kill again." The human fleet pursued the retreating hegemony forces with relentless efficiency. What had started as a rescue mission had become a war of extinction against an evil that humanity would not tolerate. Captain Nick Carter's USS Liberty caught up with Vex's damaged doctor. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler 442, Elder Cathera stood in the newly built Zephyrian Council chambers, looking through a window at the construction sites where his people were rebuilding their capital city. Human medical ships still orbited the planet, providing aid to survivors, while human engineers helped design structures that could withstand future attacks. Dr. Lisa Hayes worked alongside Zephyrian scientists in what had become the most successful interspecies cooperation project. In galactic history, the research station they had built together was producing advances in medicine and technology that benefited both species. "Elder, we have received another message from the Galactic Council," his aide, a young Zephyrian named Thyler, reported. "They wish to meet with human representatives to discuss formal recognition of Earth as a protector species." Cathera smiled. The Galactic Council had ignored the Zephyrian distress calls when the hegemony attacked, claiming they could not interfere in local conflicts. But when humans had destroyed an entire enemy fleet to save strangers, the Council suddenly wanted to talk. Admiral Kate Phillips had established a permanent base in the Kepler system, making it clear that humanity considered the Zephyrians under their protection. Her fleet patrolled the surrounding star systems, hunting down the remaining hegemony forces and warning other aggressive species to stay away. Captain Jake Morrison had been promoted and given command of the first human diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council. His research ship USS Meridian had been upgraded with better weapons and defenses, but its primary mission remained peaceful exploration and first contact. "Admiral Phillips, we are receiving distress calls from 17 different systems," reported Commander Steve Walsh from his position aboard the USS Valkyrie. "Word has spread about what we did here. Every species that has been threatened by the hegemony or other aggressive empires is asking for human help." Kate studied the star charts showing the location of each distress call. Some were from species facing immediate invasion, others from worlds already under occupation. All of them had heard about Kepler 442 and were hoping that humans would come to their aid as well. "What's our current fleet strength?" Kate asked. "We have 47 ships, operational in this sector, Admiral, but Earth is already building more. The Colonial Marine Corps has tripled in size since the battle, and we have volunteers signing up faster than we can train them." Kate nodded. The story of the Battle of Kepler 442 had spread throughout human space like wildfire. When people learned that an entire innocent species had been saved by human intervention, volunteers flooded recruitment centers, shipyards worked around the clock to build new vessels, all of them designed for one purpose: protecting innocent life throughout the galaxy. General Patricia Wells had established the Human Protection Corps, a new military branch dedicated specifically to responding to genocides and other crimes against sentient life. Her Marines trained constantly, preparing for battles on alien worlds with unknown environments and hostile conditions. "General, we have intelligence reports on the remaining hegemony forces," Colonel Ben Torres informed her during a strategy meeting. "They have retreated to fortified positions in the outer spiral, but they are rebuilding their fleets." Patricia studied the tactical data. The Hegemony Collective had lost over 200 ships at Kepler 442 and in the follow-up operations, but they still controlled dozens of conquered worlds. Their slave populations were being forced to build new warships and weapons. "Then we hunt them down," Patricia said simply. "Every last one of them. The galaxy needs to understand that species who commit genocide will be completely destroyed, no matter where they hide." Back on Earth, the news of humanity's first major military action in deep space had created a wave of pride and determination. Captain Alex Reed, who had survived the initial destroyer battle despite massive damage to his ship, had been awarded the highest military honors and given command of a new heavy cruiser. Captain Nick Carter, whose battleship USS Liberty had destroyed Warlord Vex's flagship, was leading the construction of an entire squadron of new battleships. Each one was being built with lessons learned from the Kepler battle, making them even more effective against alien enemies. The most surprising development came from species that had never contacted humans before. The Altarian Republic, a peaceful Federation of 12 worlds, sent ambassadors to Earth specifically to request a mutual defense treaty. The Crystalline Collective, silicon-based life forms who had been fighting the hegemony for decades, offered to share advanced technology in exchange for human military support. "It appears that our reputation has spread faster than our ships," Jake Morrison reported to Earth Command during a diplomatic briefing. "Species across the galaxy are requesting human protection or alliance. Some are offering tribute, others want to join a human-led defense confederation." Admiral Sarah Parker, the head of Earth's Space Forces, looked at the reports coming in from across human space. Everywhere the same story was being told. Humans had traveled across the galaxy to save complete strangers, asking for nothing in return except the chance to help. "What's the status of our rapid response capability?" Sarah asked. "We now have battle groups stationed at 7 key points throughout human space," reported General Mark Wilson, head of strategic planning. "We can respond to any distress call within 72 hours, anywhere within a 50-parsec radius of Earth." But the most important development was happening on the worlds that humans had already liberated. The Zephyrians had not only rebuilt their civilization, they had transformed it. With human help, they had developed defensive technologies and military capabilities that would prevent future attacks. Elder Kythera had established the Zephyrian Defense Force, trained by human Marines, and equipped with human weapons. But more importantly, he had created the Survivors Network, a communication system that connected all species that had been saved by human intervention. "We owe our existence to humanity," Kythera explained to a gathering of alien ambassadors, "but we will not be helpless victims again. We will stand with our human friends and help them protect other innocent species." The Crystalline Collective had shared their advanced shielding technology with human engineers. The Altarian Republic provided their expertise in faster-than-light communication. Other rescued species contributed what they could: medical knowledge, manufacturing techniques, cultural wisdom that helped humans understand alien psychology. What was emerging was not a human empire, but a voluntary alliance of species united by a simple principle: The strong should protect the weak, not exploit them. The Hegemony Collective, watching from their hiding places in the outer spiral, realized that humanity had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They had turned military victory into moral authority. Species that would never have trusted each other were working together under human leadership, creating a power block that threatened every aggressive empire in the galaxy. The humans have changed the rules, reported Intelligence Officer Kex to the new Hegemony leadership. Before Kepler 442, conquest was profitable. Weak species surrendered or died. But now attacking innocent worlds means facing human retaliation. Our expansion has stopped completely. The new Hegemony Supreme Commander, Warlord Taz, studied reports of human military capabilities. These Deathworlders had technology that was good but not exceptional, but they used it with tactical skill and strategic thinking that surpassed anything in the Hegemony's experience. How many human ships are there now? Taz asked. Over 300 combat vessels, Supreme Commander, and their fleet is growing rapidly. Every month they launch more ships and train more soldiers. But worse, they have allies now. The species we used to prey on are fighting back with human weapons and human training. Taz felt something his species rarely experienced. Fear. The Hegemony had built their empire on the assumption that most galactic species were too peaceful and weak to resist effectively. But humans had changed that assumption. Now peaceful species had protectors who were neither peaceful nor weak. Meanwhile, in human space, Dr. Lisa Hayes was working on a project that would change the galaxy forever. She was developing a universal communication system that would allow any species to send a distress call directly to human forces. If we can create a network that covers the entire galaxy, Lisa explained to Admiral Phillips, no innocent species will ever be alone again. Any world under attack can call for help, and we will hear them. Ryan Clark, now promoted to head of communications for the entire human fleet, was coordinating the installation of relay stations throughout explored space. The network was being built with help from allied species, each one contributing technology and resources to the project. Admiral, we're getting reports that the Galactic Council wants to formally recognize humanity as the galaxy's designated protector species, Ryan reported. They're offering us special status and access to Council resources. Kate laughed bitterly. Where was the Council when the Zephyrians were being slaughtered? They only care now because we proved we can back up our principles with firepower. The truth was that the Galactic Council had been paralyzed by politics and bureaucracy for centuries. They talked about peace and justice, but did nothing when innocent species were attacked. Humanity had shown that sometimes, peace